fermentation in cowskin bags.
That is pretty hardcore.
It's pretty cool, yeah.
That is rustic.
Cheers.
Cheers,
James.
man.
Welcome
Thank
to the
you.
podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Yeah, Gina, if you're listening, tell me about this one because it's kind of good. Well, we don't have a big mezcal market anyway. But,
Sure.
But, in any of those categories, it's like we only need a couple.
Yeah.
So you corner the market, just like your Wakatake Onikoroshi Demon
yeah.
Slayer.
Same
the
thing.
one sake
Yep.
we've had, premium sake we've had since we started.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I have a customer that I forgot that she is the one that requested it back in 2010.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why I carry it. And so I remember she came to the tasting and we're talking about that. I was like, yeah, Wakatake is our bestseller, Junmai Daiginjo. And she's like, yeah, I'm the one that asked for that.
That's
I'm
so
like,
funny.
no. And I forgot that she did.
Yeah.
So I was like, and she was like, fact check me.
That's
and I was
so
like,
funny.
So I pulled it up and I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's the reason why I have it.
Can you see like historic sales? Like she's bought like 300 bottles over the last 14 years or whatever.
Basically,
yeah.
like
That's
over
so
time.
funny.
And I see like literally the first transaction for that product.
That's so cool.
And the other crazy thing is a credit to that product.
Yeah.
And just in general, when we're talking about pricing, like the price has only changed. I only recently raised the price because I like had to check again. And I'm like, wait a minute, like this has gone up a little bit. I should change it.
Yeah.
From $40 to $50 or $60.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's over 15 years.
Yeah.
What do you know costs maybe $20 more over 15 years?
No, I mean, especially nothing in the wine industry right now.
Yeah.
Especially when you start looking at like the premium wine category, like Burgundy or even like top California producers, like 20 years. I mean, the price is going to increase 50, 60, 70% maybe. You know what I mean? Like,
yep. So I find myself like explaining that to people a
Yeah.
lot because we all can shake our fists at prices of yore.
Yeah.
The good old days.
Yeah.
But I try to direct people into like, well, there's still, admirable things that you should appreciate that has gone up in only $20.
Fela Sonoma Coast Pinot, the price hasn't adjusted in, I don't know, 10, 12 years from what I understand. You know what I mean? Turley, Old Vine, and Juvenile, those prices just changed for the first time like last year or the year before. Like, and they didn't go up that much. But, considering that they hadn't changed in so long, it's nice that... In that
time, and people tend to forget that.
Yeah.
So anyone can complain about prices now, and we don't have to go into that because there's a lot to talk about. But so the point is focusing on the things that I'm like, dude, almost 2 decades, a decade and a half, and you're talking the difference of tens or $15 or $20. Like that's something to be said.
Yeah, especially for what's considerably like one of the most recognizable luxury sakes out there, right? Like unless you're carrying like Heaven Sake or you're carrying like Desai 23 or any of those, like
that's funny because like that's the only other one I have.
Oh yeah, really?
And I'm like, yeah, this is made by Regis Camus.
Right? Yeah.
Piper fame.
Yeah.
And it's funny because like I have to explain why that's $110.
Right.
And someone's like,
I don't care. I'll take Wakatake.
It's made by a champagne person? I'm like, well, yeah, you know? And so they're like, fuck it. Like, whatever.
That's so funny.
Because, like, it's at that point, it's price points. So if Wakatake Onikoroshi is solid $50 or $60, then it's like, no, I need nicer.
Yeah.
So it's like, 100.
Yeah. Well, and if
like,
there's only a couple options, it's an easy step up, right? It's like when you have a section on the shelf and it's like, cabs and one's 50, one's 52, one's 54, one's 56, one's 58, you start seeing like the saturation of that price point and like the effectiveness of that sale probably suffers a little bit, right? Because people are just like, I'll take the cheapest or the most expensive or whatever the round number is. If there's a $50 bottle, that's my budget. I'm going to spend the $50 bottle, I guess let's take a step back and tell everybody, Artisan Wines. Maybe tell them where it is, if you guys specialize in anything. And then we can kind of touch on your story, your background.
Sure.
And then see where it develops from there. Obviously, we should talk about the sick Spain trip that we went on because that was so much fun. And everybody that's listening to this is jealous. Unless you were on the trip, then you should just be jealous you're not here right now talking about drinking
I think so.
mezcal.
Yeah, this is like, wow, this is supposed to be work.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
No, thank you, and thanks for opening up to that. Artisan wine. So there's only a handful, if not like 3 or 4, independently owned fine wine retailers left in the Bay Area.
Wow.
And so we started in 2009, in Mountain View, and we're at our 3rd location now in Mountain View, which we're very proud of. It's like the best into it. But that's 15 years of riding the wave and of Silicon Valley in itself, but also as wine retail, as it's developed, going toe to toe, knowing that you got K&L doing insane volume and basically having all the stuff that we have that our customers want and trying to compete with that. Then you have wine.com on the other side, which is just focused only on that. And again, I always say I have utmost respect for both producers, and we actually play nice, it's great to be able to talk to folks from both sides. And in fact, Trey Beffa came by last week just to drop in after, he's like, yeah, I sold my shares in K&L, and I'm going to do something else now that's going to service retailers.
Cool.
I'm like, holy shit, what's up? Yeah. Like, and I treated him, I was like, you're a legend in retail, like you're just coming in to talk to me. And it was really cool. So we've kept in touch, and he's like, I want to service retail the way I wish we were serviced.
That's great.
And that's really cool,
yeah.
Right? To have someone come in like that, out of the blue, that I guess if you were to look at it on a negative view, would have been a competitor or a rival.
Sure.
But I think enough time has elapsed now where it's truly all ships rise with the tide.
Yeah.
Which we talked about a little bit.
Yeah.
It used to be a lot more cutthroat back then, I feel, just because everyone's vying for that same customer to buy that allocated, that blue chip. And so we're just like, the old days, I would call it, in the aughts, were just like, ruthless price, battling and trying to, because you only need that one customer to buy the case of blank.
Yeah. That
comes out. It doesn't matter what it is, but some blue chip. And so it was a lot more cutthroat back then. But now I'm like, okay, we all are just grateful for any kind of business and for any customer drinking wine and buying wine.
Please.
So it's cool. So that's, I guess, the summary of retail now that I look at, and we're all like playing nicely and supporting each other, which is good.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, cool. Because then it makes it less awkward if I like see them out.
Do you think that Wine Searcher, I mean, in a way, like, I feel like Wine Searcher has really, I'll be a little selfish in the sense, Wine Searcher has really inhibited our role as a wholesaler, because when we're selling something to a retailer, they're usually looking it up on Wine Searcher and going like, no, I can't make my margin on that. I'm not going to pick it up.
Yeah.
Even if, they're not going to do like blast offers or anything like that. But do you think that Wine Searcher, in a way, however hassle at first it probably was, has now kind of like leveled the playing field? It helps everybody monitor MSRP and things like that. Is that?
That's very well stated.
Yeah.
Because believe me, I'm not proud to talk about this, but like we were the problem child in our beginning. Like sure. We were always everyone had an issue because we were just
always under.
We wanted to provide the lowest price possible.
Sure.
And we wanted everyone to know that you're gonna save with us.
That's great.
But when you're dealing with like things that have a MSRP, like a stated price.
Yeah.
We're ruffling a lot of feathers.
Yeah.
But that's how we started out. Now, to your point, I actually appreciate that Wine Searcher has truly leveled the playing field. That's the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
Like if a producer wants to release something and it's a famous producer and it's something that they know people want, like they want to control the fact that it costs this price. And I think in the best cases that I've seen now, like they've been able to do that with grace. Right. Like it's like, yeah, that's the price of it.
Yeah.
You know, you can't like get it for less. You can't, and you're not going to pay more for it. And I think that's the best situation. It's the best scenario.
Right.
That if everyone does their job in controlling it, and it's a fair price for the consumer and then for the retailer, and everyone makes their money, that like everyone's happy.
Yeah.
You know, but it gets messy when it comes to like massive production stuff, or you know, stuff their distributors, very large ones, larger than Chambers.
Yeah.
They need to make numbers, and there's wheeling and dealing, and then that's where the issues arise. You're like, well, how are they selling it for that or this like that? And it's just much nicer to not even have to deal with that anymore.
Or when you're fighting New Jersey and New York, right? Who are like notoriously under MSRP on their products. Can you silence your watch? Sorry. I'm sorry.
You're right.
Yeah. I just want to...
I noticed that.
You're fine. Sorry. It was like two dings, and then I was like, maybe the mic won't pick it up. But then I'm like, I just want to...
No, you're right.
Don't you know I'm on a show right now?
Excuse me. I'm doing a podcast interview. Excuse me.
Yeah.
No, thank you. But to your point, so that was the other thing, is that we used to be really, you know, lowest price in USA, in United States of America, in the country.
Yeah.
But now I think over time what everyone realizes, like, okay, so New Jersey, Midwest, some random place in New York has something. Can they ship to you?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Do they have it?
Sure.
Do they charge taxes on that? How much is their shipping? Do you want that shipped? And so I feel now, thankfully, that's a good thing that you bring it up, because we disregard East Coast and Midwest. Now we just focus on like, well, what's California?
Yeah.
And even then we kind of disregard SoCal.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, well, that's SoCal. So I doubt that there's people there like, oh, I'll go buy that from down there.
And they won't ship during weather delays and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it makes sense on like cellar wines, but like for the day-to-day stuff, like you'd rather just buy it and get it now, probably.
I think, you know, I think the great part about all this time that's passed and everyone's been able to understand and work with buying wine online and wine retail and shipping wine and stuff, that everyone now knows this, right? So we don't need to like really focus on that like we used to, and argue the fact that they don't have the product or they're not getting it direct or gray market or blah, all these other things. But in the beginning it used to be, because we really wanted that sale. We really wanted, why should I buy the first growth from you or the, you know, 100 point Casanova Denieri 06 from you. I could get it there. And that posed a problem. But now people are like, oh, I can't get it from there.
Yeah.
Or that's way more of a hassle. Or I don't want to buy it from this random place on the East Coast. And so it's really cool. So I guess the consumer's educated, along with the fact that we now know that nationally everyone kind of can understand that it's not, you know, it's not Amazon, it's not it's the cheapest price. So that's a long way to say that Wine Searcher, I do believe, has leveled the playing field.
That's great.
They charge a lot.
Sure.
They charge so much. So just to be candid, the bill every year that I get, and it's not even to be promoted. It's not even like the bold, you know. It's just to be on there,
right?
Like prominently. Yeah. It's a lot. Like I could buy a car.
So
with that,
I guess because I don't understand this side of things quite as much, maybe you can help me just like paint the picture. I didn't realize that you had to pay to be on Wine Searcher. So you're effectively paying to be on Wine Searcher because the people that are going on to Wine Searcher and that are using it to find your shop.
Yeah.
Ideally, they're coming in person, right? But they can order it directly through Wine Searcher. You paying like a finder's fee when they buy through there and stuff too?
Well, I think the good thing, so what you're saying is more like Vivino.
Okay.
Vivino, when Vivino first started, we were on board and it was great. We got a lot of orders. They basically funneled it through because it's kind of the same thing, except it's more of a social network esque ratings, and and they made it easy. So like my mom could go on Vivino to rate something and buy something. In the beginning, it was great, but then they changed things and they made it so that first of all, the fees were insane. Like it was, I think, 20% of the selling cost, and I'm like, but that's my margin.
That's the margin.
That's like that's pretty much the margin.
30 on a good day.
On a good day, 30, meaning I would make 10%. And insult to injury was that you don't get the customer's information. You don't get their email, right? You get the order.
Sure.
But it's like, well, okay. Like, because we used to before that.
Yeah.
They were like, here you go. Ship to them. Here's their email. Then they're like, nope.
Yeah.
Here's the order. And we're like, how is anyone making money off of this? And you'll never see those people again.
Yeah, they're just farming you at that point, right? Yeah. Versus like you being able to build like an email database, do email blasts, special offers, things like that. Yeah. I mean, that's invaluable, right? Like the network or the connection to the final consumer is so important.
Very.
Yeah.
Very, very, very. So, with Vivino, we were like, okay, we're going to stop that. So anyone that's now on Vivino, when you do the search, you could price it, but you're much better off on Wine Searcher. Right. Wine Searcher just pulls prices.
Sure.
They're not actually a facilitator of like
handling the sale.
They're not the middleman.
Right. Got it.
They're just pulling in everything, which is cool.
Yeah.
Because everyone could see. And you could go to bullshit websites too. It's like I'm like, have you clicked on that link?
Right.
When you're asking me to price match.
Yeah.
Because when you click through it, it doesn't exist.
Or you go on it and it's like in stock 0.
Yeah.
Like,
or the price has changed. That's how I know that they had a talking to, right? And even like local people, stuff like I will have like, hey, why are they selling it for that price when you told me the MSRP?
Yeah.
And you click through, it's like, oh, they changed it.
Right.
Like, now, because the way Wine Searcher works is there's crawlers that they send out that literally aggregates the information on the website that day, and then lists it on their stuff.
Okay.
So it's really like a 24-hour basis thing.
Wow.
So like if you have had an account that's like, oh, you need to raise your prices.
Yeah.
That takes 24 hours.
Wow.
Because it's a Wine Searcher thing, right?
Yeah.
And I remember that was also a big thing in the beginning because like I didn't know how long it would take on that. And we weren't trying to be low ballers, but if it was just like a couple dollars below what everyone should be at,
right,
to play fair, it takes time.
Yeah.
Into that. Luckily nowadays, in the I call it the Artisan 2.0 or the Renaissance. Yeah. Like no one really has to play that game. You just have to provide the best price you're able to, market price, and then the best service, like deliver it to you or like with ease.
Right.
Now, like someone that wants to press buy should get it.
Yeah.
Whether you're picking it up or whether it's shipped to you.
Right.
That whole process needs to be the smoothest, easiest, fastest.
Yeah.
No
like
matter
if they
what.
can hit buy and it allows them to use Apple Pay, it's like
exactly.
double click it, I'm done. The wine's on the way. That's the dream. Right?
Yeah, that's like instant.
Yeah.
And Shopify has been massive in helping that because Shopify has like, they're like the e-commerce guts and bones for like everybody. Except KNL. KNL actually had some in-house stuff developing it, tinkering. Yeah. But pretty much everyone else, now it's coming up. It's the same like template. But it's good because before that was a lot of garbage. Like it was a lot of a liquor store that has wine and then it's like, oh, if we list it, people suddenly are buying shit, right?
Yeah.
And that's where you get your East Coast ghost listings.
Right.
Because they knew like it was coming in.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not too dissimilar to these corner stores that have Pappy, that have, Suntory stuff that are like luring people in.
Yeah.
Right? I get it. Like that's what people are looking for. And if you promote it, you have it. But can you deliver it to them? Like, can you click buy and then get it?
Yeah.
And that was the question before. It's like, usually not.
Yeah.
But I don't have to explain that to people anymore, which is great.
Sure.
So in 2024, it's been, for wine, retail, e-commerce, it's been great. Yeah. It's like, okay, whatever. And you could reason with our customers now because, someone will be like, oh, I could get it for blank over here. I'm like, yeah, but they don't ship to you and they don't actually have it.
Right. Yeah.
You know, they're
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, where else are you?
Or you came to me first because you trust me.
Yeah.
And you're just asking if I'll lower the price, but I'm not going to. So you're still going to buy it from me. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm always willing to like work with people.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
In any regard.
Yeah.
In that, but that's funny. That could be a whole other segue too. Is like how do I handle discounting or bargaining or like that?
Yeah.
That's another episode.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. How to haggle at your local wine store.
Most people don't. Most people don't, but some people do. And you have to work with that.
So given that this is an interview, I'd love for you to also kind of like tell us like how you came to Artisan, if wine was always in your family, was always in your life, or kind of like where you found yourself in wine, and then, kind of just bring us up to speed at Artisan, because it's 15 years you said at Artisan.
It's 15 years, yeah. Okay. We started in 2009. And I was thinking about answering this question in the most concise way. So I think I
no
got
worries.
It
doesn't have to. Everybody's always worried that it's like, oh, it's going to take too long or like whatever.
Well, because usually when I answer this, it takes too long. But I think
summarize your entire life for me in 30 seconds. Go. Yeah.
I appreciate getting to answer this question. So I was like doing a lot of stuff. I originally, after high school, I was like, I love sushi. I want to be a sushi chef. And I went and became a sushi chef, right?
Wow.
Just to do it. And then from there, I was like, I don't want to smell like fish every night. This is not what I thought it was going to be. So then I jumped around. I did high-end retail, like clothing retail. So companies like Diesel. I opened the True Religion store in Valley Fair Mall when they had one there. Worked at Puma. And then I was like, I'm done selling clothes, and managing these stores. Like, let's go back into restaurants. So then I went back to work at Straits in Santana Row, Left Bank to get my French French food in,
A staple.
You had to tell them the special. Aujourd'hui, we have some specials today. Déjeuner. Oh my God. But and then from there, I was like, what else is out there? And then I managed and sold, there was a hobby game store that also that had a wholesale division. So I joined them with kind of a jack of all trades role. Mm-hmm. They're like, well, we have a retail store, we have the operations, and we have an online store, and we need help in everything. I'm like, I can help you with all that. And so all of this was led up to all the skills that I needed and experience I needed to jump into what I was going to do. So the hobby game store was crazy because I was like, okay, I understand how e-commerce works and websites. I also understand how retail works. I understand nerdy stuff. Mm-hmm. And I just applied all of that because you and I are roughly around the same age. Mm-hmm. So growing up with our Angel Fire and GeoCities and MySpace Top 8.
Yeah.
It really, really paid off into that. So I really helped them.
Learning how to code your MySpace and have little icons that moved around and shit.
And your song and all of that. But I mean, that's still something you had to learn.
Yeah.
And I feel, people maybe not realize that was kind of the precursor to all of that, making a website, even as basic as it is. And then my sister, who was in high tech and had a great career in that, this is a great story that I always like to talk her up on because the reason why she got into wine was that her role in high tech was, wining and dining clients to sell the stuff, but it's all men. Mm-hmm. We're talking the 90s. So when it went to the restaurant, the wine list came out, and of course they're they would take the menu from her, or they would disregard what she had to say, even though she's the one taking them out.
Yeah.
And she's the one that's into wine.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh hell no. And if you've met her, she would not let that go. So she was determined to be like, you know what? I'm not only going to overcome this by being the best.
Right.
figure in wine. I'm going to surpass it. So she originally wanted to be like the fifth female master sommelier at the time.
Wow.
So she studied under, she got Larry Stone to be her mentor from Lingua Franca, formerly Lingua Franca, and studied with that group and was well on her path, except for the fact that it came time to make a decision to start the business or not.
Yeah.
Or to keep studying and be a master sommelier at what cost, right? Especially at the time. So 2009 comes along, the financial crisis, it's a weird market, but there's
bottom's falling out.
Bottom's falling out, but there's opportunity. We could actually rent a building in Mountain View, in downtown Mountain View, for an affordable price because the economy's in the shit.
Yeah.
And so sorry, I'm kind of jumping around, but before that, she made sure to do all angles of the wine industry. So my uncle had her do the wine list at his restaurant, and then ultimately was like, oh, run the restaurant too. So that just was thrown on her from her career. She's like, okay, I guess I'll do that. It's called Castro Point in Mountain View. Okay. A lot of our customers are still from that list, because she built that up. But then she also worked at Southern for a sec. Then she wanted to see the production side and worked for a Livermore winery. And then also wanted to do the retail side. So she worked at Wine Club when it was still in downtown or San Jose near the airport on Coleman Avenue. To know that. So she has it's like Thanos with all the rings. Yeah. She was like, oh, now I know how this works.
Right.
And then finally she comes to me. It's like, James, we need to focus you, and I'm going to start this, and I need your help. And I was like, yeah, instantly, family first for me.
Yeah.
So I feel bad because I didn't even give a 2-week notice to the hobby game company that I was working. I was like, I'm sorry, my family needs me.
Right.
So I feel bad about that. Sorry to Game Castle out there, but I joined her, and that was in 2009, and I had no idea what would be in store for me. She was like, well, you have to become a sommelier too. I'm like, okay. So so let's see, 2009, I think I was barely 21, maybe 22 years old. I didn't drink, I was super nerdy. I still am nerdy. But I had to hit the ground running to do this career now for this business, because she's like, no, you're going to be a somm. Yeah. And you're going to need to be able to deal with these clients. And I'm like, okay, sure, And it was insane. It was probably, I think, 7 years of 7 days a week working, because we were open 7 days a week. Plus, we expanded to a second location in Los Gatos at some point between that. And the business blew up because of being in the heart of Mountain View, Silicon Valley. So we rode the wave as well. Our first location was in the same complex as Evernote. Before they had this massive building up on the peninsula, there were this tiny company and a bunch of other companies too. So it's like the startup story,
right?
And kind of watching that explode from our little garage, in the beginning, it was really crazy. Yeah, it was just nuts. So it was a long answer to your question about how it started.
It's so cool. I mean, I think that it's amazing that you guys kind of walked your own paths and were able to kind of come back together to kind of launch this company together. And now you're the second person, the last being from last episode, Will, that was in the culinary side of things and moved to the wine side of things just recently for him, a little while back, further for you. Yeah, I mean, there's so many things that I kind of want to touch on. Let's see, where to begin. So you mentioned that she wanted you to become a somm.
Yep.
Did you seek out any formal education? Did you take any certifications? No judgment. I took my level 1, it expired, and I still call myself the reluctant. So I'm not certified. Not certified. But I don't. Honestly, I don't give a shit.
I really appreciate you saying that because I'm not certified either.
Yeah. I think, I mean, John Lancaster at Boulevard is one of the most knowledgeable people I know and has no certifications,
Yeah.
I don't think that it's all about that,
Yeah. So this is great. I really glad you asked that because this is like a part of the whole career, going through it. I always thought like, yeah, you just need to get your accreditations. You need to get certified. Then you need to be advanced. And then you need to be a master somm,
Sure.
and the whole thing. But in my position with this company and the amount of wines I had the privilege to taste on a daily basis and all the amount of consumer tastings that we put together and organized for our customers, which meant we also could taste between 10 and 15 wines.
Everything on the shelf, yeah.
On a Thursday, Friday, and a Saturday consistently for 7 years.
Wow.
And actually, when we had our Las Gas location, 2 locations, we had consistently Friday, Saturday tastings. So that's 4 tastings in a week. And they were all different because we rotated them.
Right.
So even if it was only 10 wines, that's 40 different wines to try, on a regular basis. And I bring that up because the pandemic came along that when the shelter-in-place order shut down all of that, you don't realize how good you had it and what a privilege that is until it's gone. And I always point to in our tasting room, we have all of our guests sign the wall when they come and pour for our customers from around the world. And I have the signature of the very last tasting before the shutdown. And we hosted the guy from Banffy, and it was March 20th, 2020. And I'm pretty sure the 21st, the day after, was the Sunday or whatever that announcement came.
Yep.
And that was a wild time because I remember sending an email blast, be like, "We're an essential business and we're gonna be open, but we're not sure how much. Come by and get your stuff." And people came by and loaded up on wine because you didn't know it was kind of the end of the world, and so we had that surge.
You had the sidewalk pickups or whatever. I remember that was.
Oh
a thing.
God, yeah, the curbside.
Yeah, curbside. Thank you.
Social distancing.
Yeah.
Oh God, yep. And we had people that took it seriously, which they should have.
Of course, yeah.
Gloves on, mask on, open the trunk, stood back. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't think I have COVID, but I understand. Like we're trying to stop the spread.
Right.
Trying to be as, cooperative as possible with that.
Conscious, yeah.
Yeah. What was the question again?
No, I think that we were just kind of talking about let's see, do I remember the question?
Yeah.
You were just kind of talking about how it's how you don't really realize how lucky you have it until it's gone. You were saying the last tasting was the guy from Banffy in 2020. It brings me a question though that I did want to ask from earlier, and then I left my brain. You were mentioning that 2024 has been great on the e-commerce platform. And I know that, for a lot of retailers, just from what I understand, I don't call on a large number of retailers. 2020 was obviously like a banner year, right? It was like the best of the best. But right now it seems like some people are in like a little bit of a slump.
Yeah.
Do you think that without e-commerce, it would be a vastly different picture? I guess my real question is, what percentage do you think you do on e-commerce now versus people walking in the store?
Yeah, post-pandemic. So I actually looked at the numbers there because I'm like, people ask me that. I'm like, I should know the numbers there. And
get your laptop out, check it right now.
Shout out to Shopify.
Yeah.
That actually will break it down. It's like there's the point of sale you bring up.
Right.
Then there's the orders you bring up for people online that email or call in, and then there's the orders people place online.
Right.
And it's just what I thought. It's 75% online.
Wow.
Which, it was kind of always that anyway.
Okay.
I think pre-pandemic, there was a lot more people in the store because there's a lot more people in the Bay Area, in Silicon Valley, that just were constantly here, you know. This is before remote work. This is before Zoom.
Yeah.
They were just here. They had to be here. And they also had to be in the office, too.
Yeah.
So we got the benefit of that because they were in Mountain View, and then they look up, we need wine. We're the wine store.
Yeah.
They come in. So we had a lot more of that. Now, with the exodus out of the Bay Area, there's far less of that. But yet there's efficiency that has come about, just like efficiency that the pandemic brought. Like, I love the fact that people know how to use a QR code.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm fine with that. Like, that's cool. Great.
Yeah.
Now you know how to do it.
Yeah.
But can you imagine pre-pandemic, the QR code was like, what am I supposed to do? Even your iPhone couldn't read the QR code from the camera as a default back then.
Yeah.
You had to download an app.
Yep.
And it was just like this foreign thing. Now it's the norm. So there are benefits that have come through after that, which I like. But also I feel people's buying patterns and just how they operate in general is much more efficient in terms of like, I don't need to casually scroll through and ask you for recommendations. I could email you, I could write you, I could chat you, and pick it out myself and order it. So there is a shift, I feel, after the fact, even though the numbers are less than the pandemic buying and spending.
Yeah.
But people aren't buying toilet paper like that anymore either. Like it's so numbers are down this year as a whole, but you're comparing it to people freaking out basically,
and also not having on-prem consumption.
And that too, yeah.
That was a big thing to me. It was like, and then even when you had on-prem consumption, you had greatly restricted on-prem consumption, right? Like I remember. When we first started serving at Ozumo, we were serving out on the patio, and there was like this law that like you couldn't put you couldn't put alcohol on the table unless there was food on the table. I think if I might be wrong, but I think I remember that being the case. And I remember they were just like, order miso soup or order edamame, just like get something on the table fast, so that way they can get their drinks. And I remember just thinking like, this is so fucking weird, but
that sounds very Salt Lake City-ish.
Yeah.
That sounds a little Utah-ish.
Texas on Sundays before noon, it was also like that. It was like you couldn't have alcohol on the table unless there was food on the table before noon on Sunday. And it's like, what the fuck is this about,
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, obviously, it's really tough to compare those numbers. One of the other things that I kind of wanted to talk about, and this is maybe something that ties together a lot of topics I talk about a lot, and so I'm trying to maybe put a little bit more of a positive spin on it than I often do. So we're kind of seeing right now non-drinkers, we're seeing natural wine drinkers, and we're seeing like a general overall consumption decrease, but there was an article recently, the average spend is up, right? And so to me, this kind of makes me think of something that Bianca and I talk about a lot, which is like conscious consumption. Do you feel like the people that do come into the store are asking those questions more? Have you thought about, like, maybe you already do this? I'm obviously not trying to tell you how to run your business by any means. But do you have filters online on your website that have like biodynamic or organic farming practices or anything like that? Like, is this a thing that's happening in the retail world like it seems to be happening a little bit in the on-prem world also?
Yeah, I'm sure, yes, for all other stores.
Sure. Okay. Got it.
I'm actually like positive that any other retailer that has that demographic that cares.
I see.
I'm fortunate. I'm lucky that the people that come into my store, they want what they want.
Right.
They want the best shit.
Sure.
And they don't give a fuck about any of the other stuff behind it.
Yeah.
Which is nice, right?
Yeah.
Like they want.
Like, is it organic? And you go, no, but it's 100 point. And they go, okay.
Well, actually, maybe not that anymore either. But like I'm talking like blue chips,
right?
Rare Burgundy, all of the marquee banner stuff, Super Tuscan. And it's cool because it's like great. Those wines really are agnostic to like all the other stuff around it.
Sure.
I think anyone coming in looking for like natural wines and others, That's not our customer base where we are, and they could get that elsewhere.
Sure.
So it's not like I'm against it. It's just I'm going to carry what our customers are asking.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's the bangers.
Yeah.
You know, they were like, they don't want to fuck around with like all the other stuff. They're like, what's like the best? And you know, I guess that's a good thing that you bring up. It's not necessarily, I think the 100-point chasers, that was a definite boomer thing.
Sure.
And that's what I've been trying to, you know, distill down, is that was an era. And the rate and points were an era, and the publications were an era. Now the points are just a point of reference. They're there, but I don't think anyone really cares.
Not as much. Yeah, I feel like it's a lot less impactful. Like now between the 95 and 99 point, 95 and 98 point, nobody really gives a shit.
No one gives a shit.
Nobody gives a shit. You know, and again, I specialize more in on-prem. And I almost never put scores on my tasting sheets. And if I do, if it's like a BTG and it's like 94 points, I go like, look at this. Your wine that you're pouring by the glass is a 94-point wine, by the way. You know,
by
it's
the way,
just like,
it's a nice little, I love doing that.
You know,
like,
yeah.
I do that with my customers.
Yeah.
If I taste it, I was like, oh yeah, by the way, yep, and this was rated 98 points by Blink.
Yeah.
Just, you know.
This was
and,
Wine
you know,
Spectator Top 100.
This was the number 4 wine in the world.
Yeah.
No, it's true.
That was Rain last year, right?
Which I told everyone. I shoved that down people's throats. I sent like 9 email blasts. I'm like, this is a special wine.
Occidental too.
You should buy it. And I did Occidental.
Wow, Occidental
Thank you,
Freestone.
Gino. Gino got me like a lot into that. And I was like, I told y'all. So then I get the smugness to send the email blast after.
Yeah.
Like,
you should have listened.
I told y'all.
Yeah.
And I guess for those that don't know, the point is, as soon as the Wine Spectator publication releases their top 100, especially their top 10, those wines immediately gain value.
Yeah.
Like in your cellar, if you own it, just immediately.
They sell out immediately on our end. They get completely restricted.
Nope.
Or they sell out immediately.
Yeah.
And in some cases, like these guys have like the inside track.
Yeah.
You know, people start poking around and like start asking me like 6 or 7 days ahead of time, like, hey, how much of this do you have left? Hey, I'll take a few cases of this. And I go like, oh, it's going to be in the top 100.
Yeah.
You know? You can feel it.
And, you know, a lot of people are very anti that, and I understand because it's like, what does that mean? Like, I don't buy
apples
wine.
to oranges.
I don't buy wine on that. Who cares?
Yeah.
And I get it.
Yeah.
It's true. It's who cares about that? But what you should care is the fact that if you like the wine already and then also you have it, I just tripled your value by owning the number 1 wine of the year.
Yeah.
And I told you it would be something remarkable, and sure enough it is. And so in a way that I feel like I'm a stockbroker, I'm like, you're welcome. Like people are still, do you want to sell it back to me? Because people are asking me and they're kind of desperate about that.
Yeah.
Especially last year, Good Morning America announced their, which I don't need them to do anything, but they did. They're like, oh, Wine Spectator is number 1 of the years. Argiano, Brunello, Di Montalcino, 2018.
Yep.
My sister, Christine, the week before, was like, I think this is going to make it, so I'm going to lock up. Please, I want to buy everything you have. Breakthrough, formerly Wine Warehouse.
Right, yeah.
And I remember her doing that, and I'm like, I don't think it's going to make it.
Yeah.
You know, being doubtful. Because I had called 5 of the top 10.
Right.
But she calls number 1.
Yeah. That wins.
You know, I'm all proud. I had the Tenuta Tignanello, so the Tignanello Chianti.
Sure.
The what is the Cloudy Bay? Grey Wacky. Kevin Judd jumps away.
Yeah.
But that's a gimme, right? That's easy. I think I could have predicted that because that was in top 20 before.
Yeah.
It's all, you know, this. You just kind of have the history of it. Like a stockbroker, you got to study this stuff.
Yeah.
Rain, Occidental, and I sent many blasts about that. I'm like, guys, not only is this wine delicious and special and really, honestly, underpriced for what it is.
Very underpriced.
I'm kind of giving you the inside track because they only make 1,000 cases of this, maybe less, and I could get it right now. and it's not rated.
Yeah.
And or it's rated, but they're not restricting it.
And if it gets rated, you're gonna want it, and
Yeah.
you're not gonna be able to buy it.
And I'm like, yes, I understand you're not in the gonna sell wine, so why should you care? Well, you should care because you like it and you can't get more of it because now it's not only sold out, but if you were to get it, it costs twice as much.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's a wine you already like.
Right.
That I told you is really good.
Yeah, yeah.
This is the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not peddling the top 10. I already gave you the top 10.
Right, right.
I already told y'all, like, these are great wines.
Yeah.
Like, regardless of this, I just know that this will happen.
Yeah.
So let's get ahead of it, and you could have it, or just enjoy it freely without this bullshit behind it.
Yeah.
So going back to what Good Morning America announces it, my sister bought everything that was available in the California market, and a good while before, probably like 4 or 5 days before, the week before.
Yeah.
And I remember our rep from Breakthrough was like, "Yeah, everyone's really upset with me," or they thought that he was an inside trade.
Sure.
I'm like, no. We just knew and we made the right call.
Yeah.
So too bad for all of you.
Yeah.
No, you can't restrict it. No, you can't do a combo hostage deal. Yeah, you want a bottle, you gotta buy a bottle of this.
Sure.
Blah, blah, blah. And that's what happens. So that's the reality. And I'm not gonna bash on that because everyone's in here to make profit.
Sure.
And to maximize sales. But we know that, so we're trying to get people ahead of
it. Yeah,
we're trying to be like, dude, this is a good wine regardless, So it's something that we've done over the 15 years. And that's not the first time my sister called the number one wine. She did that with the Marqués de Murrieta, Castella y Gay, 2010.
Yeah.
And I have the receipts to prove this.
So
I sent a blast 2 days before the announcement. I'm like, guys, we think it's gonna make it. Literally, it's like, guys, this will be top 5.
Yeah.
You can buy it here now. We have it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's announced at number 1. And so we have a track record of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really glad you asked about this whole thing.
Yeah.
It's like, so when we promote this and we tell people and we use the top 100, it's only for your benefit.
Yeah.
It's not for like, hey, look, this made this. It's like, because it's always after the fact.
Right.
It's like, this has made it before. I think it'll make it again, but it's also a good wine, and you should get some.
Yeah.
And then here's the smug part is that after it happens, then we send an email to those that have bought in the past, in the year prior. We're like, hey, congratulations, you bought the number one wine in the world.
Right.
According to Wine Spectator. And, just, if you still have stock of it, sit on it, because it's probably going to double or it could triple in value.
Yeah.
You do what you will with it, but congratulations. So
Yeah.
we send that.
I love that. That's so great. I love that.
It's like, we feel really proud about.
And
like,
it's also,
giving people
it's an additional touch. It's like, thanks again for supporting us.
Yeah.
Also, I just want to acknowledge that we support each other, right? Like, you
Yeah.
like wine, you like good wine.
Yeah.
I helped you get great wine,
Yeah, we're not just recommending like everything random.
Right. Yeah.
We do focus on the main things that are gonna provide value both in taste and in general about that.
Yeah.
So, and that might be probably the one old school thing that's kind of left on how we operate.
Sure.
I think in this day and age
Yeah.
where people don't care about points.
Yeah.
They don't care about the top 100. But what we're trying to say is like, well, but you should care because if you bought the number one wine of the world, now it's worth 3 times what you bought it for.
Well,
if you wanted to,
And
auction
also,
it or
you
something.
should care because the place that you're buying it from is telling you that this is a great thing and that you
Yeah.
should buy it. And then these professionals that rate these wines come out and say, hey, this is great wine. This is the number one wine of the year or whatever.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting, though, too, like you bring me to another kind of like fun question that I have because you're my first retailer. So it's kind of one of these things like I'm trying to draw laterals between on-prem and off-prem as somebody that's never worked off-prem either. When you have a regular that comes in, you get to know their palate, right?
Yeah.
Or when you have like a dish, you come up with like a standard like pairing wine for that dish or whatever. It's interesting because you almost have to be able to like taste these wines and taste them with the palate of a Jeb Dunnick or the Wine Spectator staff or, whatever. How often do you find your personal taste of the wine in line with kind of the ratings? Like, you taste the wine, you go, this wine fucking rocks. I know this wine is going to be here because I love it. Or do you go, I know this wine's going to be here because stylistically, this is a wine that these people would rate this way?
Yeah. You kind of have to do both. You got to do it all, because there are wines that are like, dude, this is fucking amazing, and I want to shove it down everyone's throat. Even though I know that it's not the norm. It's not the status quo of that. And that's where the passion comes in. It's like, this wine is so good, like, you need to know about it. Unfortunately, in the retail business, there's less room for that because you need stuff that will sell and that what people are asking for, whether they know it or not. And when I train my staff, it was actually the conversation I had today, tasting all the Skurnik champagnes, delicious champagnes, by the way. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thank you, Skurnik, for having me.
I didn't go, but thanks anyways. It was thanks for the invite. I didn't get. No.
I was going to ask you to come with me.
No, please. I'm just fucking around.
I was going to be like, you should really come to this.
No. They would have kicked me out. They would have saw me. Like, he's competition. Get the fuck out of here.
No. But I had to, with the crew I brought, 2 staff members, I'm like, look, yes, make your notes, have your opinions, but then the most important is, like, does this fit in our set?
Yeah.
Do we need this? Do our customers need this? Are they asking for this?
Right.
That's the extra layer, aside from, like, what do you think about this? Right? And so the priority is always first what the customers are asking for, they need. Fill that first.
Right.
Everything else is extra credit. Everything else is bonus. And that's where I get to be like, oh, this Beaujolais is life-changing. It's transcendental, all that stuff. And that's fine, like, to have certain skis relegated to that, because, like, that's the fun I could have.
Right, yeah.
Of, like, you'll need it.
10% passion project, 90% proven track record wines. Yeah.
You need that. But if you only have that, then by that token, you only have stuff that are all stories that you have to tell.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Not to coddle my customers, my clients that come in. It's just the reality is, like, people that, first of all, anyone buying wine and loves wine is great, and I appreciate that. So it doesn't matter what you like. It really doesn't, you know, from top to bottom. And if you alienate anyone that buys wine because you think that they're not qualified as a wine buyer, you literally are throwing away business. And you shouldn't be in the business, I think.
I think so. Yeah, I mean, wine is a consumer's game, right? Like, I always said, and maybe I'm lucky to have this perspective, or maybe those people that we're talking about right now would think that I am not well off to have this perspective. But my first job was at Glazer's, and I worked in a beach town, and I sold fucking truckloads of Barefoot.
This was in Texas?
This was in Texas. Yeah. I sold truckloads of Barefoot, So to me, and also when I was a kid, I was 19, I started managing a restaurant. And you can taste wine when you're a beverage manager.
Which is crazy, by the way.
It's crazy.
I've heard that. I was like, that's something.
Yeah. Wow. But, when it came to, like, getting to learn things, right, because not a lot of sales reps wanted to come taste a 19-year-old on stuff.
Wow.
Getting to taste stuff or wanting to buy stuff, I had a girlfriend that was a couple years older than me. I'd give her some money. I'd ask her to go into the store and buy me some stuff. And eventually, like, Barefoot wines were, like, my core of, like, this is what Merlot tastes like. This is what Cab tastes like. Yeah. And arguably, those wines 15 to 20 years ago probably tasted a little bit more varietally correct. It was still my gateway wine. It was the wine that helped me understand what I liked and what I didn't like, and start to kind of, like, set boundaries. And, like, if we start knocking people that are that phase, then they're either going to get off the wine train completely, or they're going to go into this, like, the punk rock wine culture, which is is great, but sometimes you lose people to that punk rock wine culture.
Punk rock, that's
that's
I was looking for a word to describe that.
That's my theory about like
Yeah.
the natural wine thing movement is like partly conscientious consumption.
It makes sense
Conscientious
though. It
consumption.
makes total sense.
And
right?
also the fuck you to the industry, right? Because it's like, you know, I don't want to go to this Michelin star restaurant and drink
Right.
this wine if I'm going to be if I feel like I don't know shit because I don't like it.
Yeah.
I just want to go to a bar and have a drink, whether it's beer, wine, or liquor, and just have a good fucking time. You know, it's just kind of like natural wine has kind of become like more the proletariat drink. I wish it was a little more affordable in some cases, and I wish qualitatively it was a little bit more kind of like within the boundaries. But, you know, I think it's just like the rosé craze. You know, there was a lot of bullshit out there.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of good stuff out there. And now, you know, we have a lot of good stuff, and there's still a little bit of bullshit left, but most of the bullshit's gone.
That's really well stated. You know, about that whole like journey of things, and actually very relatable. We supply a lot of the art and wine festivals in various cities, but most recently, I think I was telling you
We're talking about this.
You know, about on our trip. I was like, I gotta do this, right?
Yeah.
So we supplied the Mountain View Art and Wine Festival. So, you know, and those are wines that they need to make maximum profit off of. But they're the best wines we could offer at, you know, sub $10 costs for them.
Yeah.
And are those wines that our clients specifically would have any business wanting or buying? No. But we have them, and we supply that.
Yeah.
And then I'm supplying, in my mind, thousands of people that are buying a ticket to buy a glass and buying wine. And I could alienate them and be like, oh, yeah, we don't have, you know, our wine selection's different from that.
Yeah.
But I bring this up because I've been humbled in this specific topic from the beginning. We first opened, and I remember there's a story, and one specific example that I always retell. You know, we were in downtown Mountain View, and plenty of folks moving from all over the country to get their jobs at Google, Yahoo, whatever the company was at the time. And I remember this one kid at the time who was younger than me, but that's like being, you know, 21 and I'm 22.
Yeah.
He came in, and I remember he asked for sangria. He asked for sweet Riesling, because his girlfriend liked it at the time. I'm like, yeah, of course. You know, I have something for you. And I remember he became a regular. He's like, I'm really into wine, and came to the tastings, and you know, I remember he actually asked us. He had a conversation. He's like, hey, I have this opportunity to join a startup or to join Google. I don't know what I should do.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't know. Talk to Christine. Like, talk to my sister. Like, I can't give you that
She
advice.
has a little bit more expertise in this field.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he made the right decision to jump to the startup that got acquired by VMware. And so instant, you know, millionaire.
Right.
At younger than me.
Right.
And so he comes back. And this is a very short period of time. This is within 4 years, I think. Maybe less.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, I'm ready to buy some serious stuff. So then the guy that buys, would you think the guy that buys Kung Fu Girl Riesling, Charles Smith, and Sangria would then buy Valdecava Madonna de Piana Reserva in a Banner Vintage because we had it, because he suddenly discovered he liked Brunello.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I really like Burgundy, and started buying Premier Cru and Grand Cru Burgundy.
Yeah.
And then, so here's the whole magical, sappy part of this whole thing. Later on, so, you know, a couple years later, he gets married, and then he invites me to the wedding. And then I remember he then serves this wine that he had bought, and I forgot that he's like, I bought this Grand Cru Burgundy. It was a Giraudon Cortone or something. It wasn't exorbitant, but he bought it. And I remember him saying, like, I'm going to serve this as my wedding whenever I get married.
Yeah.
Then I'm at his wedding, and he busts it out, and he pours it for me and everyone, because he had bought several bottles. And I flash back to the, you know, 3 years prior to him saying that. Yeah. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to cry. Because, like, you know, seeing him say it and then do it, and then being there.
Yeah.
And this is the guy, again, that bought Kung Fu Girl Riesling and Sangria.
Yeah.
Which I feel anyone else would have written off.
Sure.
I feel anyone would have been like, all right, whatever.
Yeah.
But we didn't.
Yeah.
And, it's a family friend, but to see that crazy journey, that's just one example of many.
Yeah.
Of many that everyone has the potential, I guess, if you want to say it, or the ability. It's there.
Yeah.
If you want to dive deeper into wine. And if you don't, that's fine too. If you don't care, but I just think that there's so many instances where it just takes you reaching a hand out and to not make people feel any type of way and encourage their wine journey.
Yeah.
To then proceed further. Because why would somebody spend more than sangria?
Yeah.
Or that, it really depends. And we see a lot of that because I feel a lot of people start there. And there's clearly a lot of intimidation and a lot of shit to learn and stuff. And the price of admission is expensive. And then the physical price of admission of going to a wine tasting or talking to people that collect stuff. They're going to be like,
Yeah.
Even I do that. I'm just like, how much time do you have? Like, I remember my first beer. That type of thing. I wouldn't forget that. But then if you crunch the numbers, so I crunched the numbers after of how much he bought after the fact.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is as much as our top 50 clients in their lifespan over time.
Yeah.
But he ramped up. He has money now, but because we helped him on his journey to collect this stuff.
Yeah.
So this is not stuff he threw at us. This is stuff we helped him and that he would not have spent. And, this is one example, but it's something that I want to illustrate to those that are servicing clients. In restaurants is the same way. You guide them, even though you're a little more limited. But I think there's more stories I have of this special, magical evolution. And it's not about the monetary, like, now they're buying expensive wine. It's just the fact that they want to.
It's the journey.
It's a journey, right?
Yeah.
And it's really cool. It's like, that wasn't the goal to get you to buy it. It's just you naturally took that journey and you wanted to learn more, and I helped you into that thing. And I don't think that is something that you're able to do outside of retail and others. Like, it's hard to be able to do that. Right? The setting is different. That's an interesting little journey story I always retell.
I love that. That's perfect. I mean, I think that's so beautiful in the sense of like you being able to witness that, right? Like, I wasn't there for it, but when I worked at Boulevard, we had this one regular and she would always come in, and she used to come in 4 or 5 times a week, and she would have lunch or dinner. She would take her clients in. Wow. She would drink a bottle of, $250 bottle of Chassagne Montrachet every meal, sometimes 2, depending on which client it was, right?
Nice.
And if you were out of Chassagne, she'd go up. She would never go down, right? And
nice.
Of her Chassagne that she always drank, she would go up. And it started. I asked the question one day. I go like, "Who is this lady? Why does she come here? Why does she drink like this?" And they just explained it. And they're like, when she came in, she would start drinking like $100 wines. And John was just always oh, try this, try this, try this, try this, try this. And helping her find things and helping her learn and experience new things. And it was through that process that you built this trust and you built this kind of longevity to the relationship that became so important to the fact that they would rotate what servers were in what section because she became it wasn't like we were banking on her money, but it was you knew that when she sat in your section, it was going to be a good day.
Yeah.
Because, she loved the place. She would always tip well. She would always spend. And she was also super nice. Sometimes you get those people that come in and spend.
Wow, so she was
and
on
they're
top.
douchey,
Right,
but
oh, wow.
She would come in and she would be so polite, so kind, and just
That's amazing.
It was awesome. But
amazing.
It's only through that, what you were mentioning earlier, that level of humility and also that level of like openness to educate and to be patient with people that you can grow, right? One of my all-time favorite wines, and it's funny to say, and I guess I've never said this on the podcast yet, is, Alexander Valley Vineyards Cyrus, the red blend that they make.
Yeah.
It was one of the first wines that I tasted when I was young and early in my career that I was just like, holy shit, this is it. I know what amazing wine tastes like.
Yeah.
And even now I have like 10 bottles of the 2012 in my cellar that I look at all the time, and we open some for our wedding, and I only open them for like really special occasions. And is it the most expensive wine I have? Absolutely not. Is it the most expensive wine I've ever drank? Absolutely not. Is it even now, the best wine that I've ever had? No, but it's that comfort, that kind of like
Sentimental.
That's the word I was looking for.
Right.
It's that sentimentality that you have for that brand or for that shop or for that place that makes it more valuable than money, right?
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Which made me think about that wine that you were saying he was serving at his wedding. I'm like, that's so cool. I love that.
I cried. Also, I didn't realize he'd wanted me to give a speech too, so I was like, oh yeah. Oh my God. Okay. So
you're like, this guy didn't know shit, and I taught him everything.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, and it was amazing because I was like, this is a guy that is committed to everything.
Yeah.
And he told me that he was going to serve me this, and he's serving me now.
I love that. That's
like,
so
this is crazy,
That's amazing.
I think that was one of the first, like, emotional, wedding type of things, and I've had more since then.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's a good segue to be like, there's no offense on marriage or anything like that, but marriages are kind of recurring for me.
Sure.
Lots of, I don't want to say lots. People get married and I supply the wine.
Mm-hmm.
Then they get divorced and then they get remarried and then I supply the wine. And so I feel like a bartender in that way, where they're just come to me like, James, I'm getting married.
Yeah.
And I'm like, cool.
Remember that wine from 5 years ago I ordered? I'll take 3 more cases. Yeah.
And I'm like, obviously I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah.
I just feel this day and age, there's not as big of a gap as I thought in the past.
Sure.
Like, you get divorced and maybe it takes some time to meet someone, but now it's becoming quite rapid. So I really hate to say this, but from our experience, at least for the people that still come back, and I guess maybe it's because I don't make them feel any shame or embarrassed about it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's on me. Maybe it's on them that they don't care, but then they want to buy wine again for the next, wedding. And I'm just like,
buying wine for my wedding, and you go, I'll see you in 5 years.
Yeah. And so the tongue-in-cheek joke is like, weddings are recurring business for me, as personal as they are. And again, I don't want to say this as if, I'm profiting off of weddings, because there's lots of beautiful moments like what I just told you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or when they're, I'd like to take credit that I've gotten a couple people married.
Yeah.
Because people have come in and been like, I'm going to propose to her.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
take this wine. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I know you both. I know what she likes, and you want to serve something, right? Yeah.
That's so great.
And I'm like, okay, this is worth it.
Yeah.
This will blow everyone away. And I think it's perfect. And that's really cool, because it's not about alcohol. It's about what puts everyone in that mood. And it's the most special experience you could have to that. And it's cool. It's really amazing, but you need that history with it. So again, I like to take credit for a couple marriages, because I've had a couple of those requests where they're really like, "Hey, I'm gonna propose to her."
You can take credit for that as long as you take credit for a couple divorces too.
Sure.
Yeah. All right, man. I spent too much money on my wine again.
You're buying some fucking wine. You're buying more wine.
You didn't even drink the last wine you bought. Why are you buying more? Yeah.
You're at that wine shop again? You're at Artisan again?
Oh, that's funny.
You're at that fucking wine store?
Tell James I said hi.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Oh, that's hits a little too close to home.
So I want to try to incorporate this thing now into the podcast. So
yeah,
I'm going to ask you 2 questions.
Sure.
And you know, you don't have to be like hyper concise, but we'll try to keep it core. What is your favorite thing about your job or your day to day? What's your favorite thing about what you do?
You know, it's no matter how I'm gonna explain it, it's gonna sound a little sappy, but it's truly like making people feel comfortable and happy about wine, because even to this day, even people that know me that come in and then there's this reaction to walking into a fine wine store. That's the same reaction I had walking into a Tiffany's.
Sure.
I'm just like
intimidated.
That, and I had to layer that and understand that like people are just not going to be comfortable in a store that has $1,000 bottles.
Yeah.
Especially if they're not well versed into that. So being able to have someone come in because they Googled me, it's like I need wine for my boss, my husband, my fiance, whatever, right? And they come in, then they see these $1,000. They're like, oh my god! And what are they expecting? They're expecting the same terrible experience that they would get elsewhere. And I could say that with confidence because I've been to every single wine store in California. Before we opened this, my sister and I, she's like, we're going to go on a tour.
Yeah, we need to go look at everything.
Every single wine store and wine bar. And you're going to take notes about what you like and what you don't. And that's why we're so fanatical.
What I don't. Douche, douche.
I'm telling you, the amount of times, and I mean, these were layups.
Yeah.
These were softball
requests,
just as an experiment, right? I won't name them, but I'd be like, hey, can you recommend a cab under 30? That's like the easiest thing. Yeah. The guy's like, oh. Fuck.
Yeah. I want to spend money. Help me spend money.
I'm like, what? Why are you like bothered by that? And he's like, oh, here. And you recommend some Rudy von Strasser second label.
Sure.
I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then it was also not good. I was like, that was a terrible experience. Yeah. And I was giving you a layup. Like I wasn't asking you for anything more complex than probably the most commonly requested thing.
Sure, probably.
And I'm like, wait a minute. If that's just me randomly coming into this place, which is a premier place.
How many other people? Fuck? How many other people are you putting off on a day to day?
Yeah, like how would that person act? Like, I want some, 100-point stuff. I want some first growths. I want some Grand Cru. Like what? Yeah. But it shouldn't be that way. No. So I just love my mission is accomplished when I'm able to take a newcomer that comes in and then is just deer in the headlights, which I understand because when you see the shit we have, it's like, yeah, this is a lot. Even though we've tried to really, lay it out nice and we've tried to guide you, I understand you're gonna feel that way. But I'm like, if I could get to them, or my staff can, I'm like, hey, look, it's okay. Yeah. What's your mission? Oh, your CEO boss told you need something, and you really are worried about this because this is important because he's really into wine. No worries. I got you. Because that CEO boss is most of our clients. Right. I know the type. You have to believe me. Yeah. Because I have to impress them every day. Right. They're also asking me. Yeah. And it's a challenge because they think they know everything. They have everything. Yeah. So I got you. And guiding them through, having them buy and then having them come back. I'm like, yep, we killed it. Yeah. Oh, he was thrilled. He loved it. And I'm like, I fucking told you. Because he also shops with it. Yeah. That's funny. But what store will take that time and that effort to understand that that's the most common thing, the most common request? And I don't want it to just be only like the, subordinate, subservient experience. Sure. It could be oh my God, my father-in-law or soon to be massive collector. Yeah. Or, oh my God, whatever, anything. Sure. People that just don't know wine and then they have to get something for someone that does.
Yeah, I want to impress my friends or whatever. Yeah, I mean.
It's a big deal.
It's a big deal. Yeah, I have a friend that was in tech that wanted to start getting into wine. And he started getting into wine because he realized that it was like, he was younger, and he realized that like none of his peers were into wine. So all of a sudden he became like the wine guy of the group.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, he was leading like wine tastings with his coworkers and stuff. He would like buy wines from the shop and take it in and taste people on it and tell them about it. And, all of a sudden you become like this, like, it's like golfers, right? Like you're at, you go like, oh yeah, let's go golf. And you go just like fucking crush it. And everybody's like, go golf with that guy, and like you become this like key person of influence in your group. And all of a sudden, like it's really helpful for opening doors. Wine can do that.
I guess the takeaway from this whole discussion, which has been amazing, and from my side, from the retailer talking about it, not to oversimplify it, because I think the oversimplification is like, oh, it's all about what you like or whatever. It's subjective, but it's not.
Right.
It's not. That's what everything we just talked about. So then what am I getting at is that, if someone can really, truly curate for you and help you, guide, and to speak the same language that these people that you're, so nervous about, that like, oh, they have thousands of bottles, it's the same thing every time. It's, oh my God, he's really into wine. He has wine shipments everywhere. You can afford whatever. It's like, I know. Yeah. That's my customers, right? They're all the same. So I know what it is that matters to them, and I will teach you and I will help you. You just have to, listen and understand what I'm trying to get through.
Trust.
And I'm training my staff to do it. Yeah. Right? Like, listen, like it's okay. And they like this, this, and this, but they never had this about that. And it's an amazing service that I think that there's more of a need to it, beyond my shop. Yeah. Because everyone is in the same boat. Yeah. Like, I think, everyone will probably replay this and be like, yeah, oh my God. Yeah, I don't know what to do. It's like, that's fine. You know, I didn't know what to do in the Tiffany's. I walked in there and I'm like, fuck. Is there anything under $1,000? Yeah. What the hell?
And they go to this back cabinet. It's our clearance section.
Yeah, they're like, here's this tiny little thing. But I will say the experience at Tiffany's, even though I was like, look, I want to spend as little as possible because I don't know any of this stuff, but I want to buy something from here. They're like, yeah, it's okay. There's this little bracelet here, and it's beautiful. And then he walked me through it.
Made you feel comfortable.
He made me feel so good. Yeah. And then he's like, yeah, no, I got you.
Yeah.
And then he wrapped it up like he does, and the whole thing's like here. And I was like, this is amazing. Yeah. I felt so good. So I always think about that experience in a different, category in a business, but essentially the same. Yeah. Because like these bottles are $100, $200, $300, $400, or $1,000.
Yeah.
So someone that doesn't know wine,
it's a lot for somebody.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot for someone that, I don't know, I'm assuming buys Trader Joe's wines or nothing at all.
Sure.
Before that.
Yeah.
So I'm always brought back to that. And it's really helped me comfort them. Because I'm like, I know how this feels.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, look, this is a big deal. I know this is very important. And your boss is a customer of mine. And I've already looked up what he buys. In fact, I don't need to look up because I've already sold to him. Yeah. He has these, but he doesn't have these. Yeah. In fact, I actually just solicited him these.
Yeah. When he was coming in next time,
I was like, actually, he needs to buy these. Yeah. So therefore, so yeah, that's the funny part.
I love that
about wine.
And then the next part is, what do you think about this wine? Are you enjoying this wine?
I've been sipping this, enjoying this, and really working through.
Good.
It's lovely.
It's lovely.
It's luscious. It's savory. It has old world bones. But I don't know. It kind of has could be a Gamay in the New World. Could be a Syrah, New World Syrah, which is why it's kind of muddling that. So yeah, I'm like,
you don't have to blind it, Yeah. Just, I'll reveal it. As long as you like it. Is it good? It's good.
It's good, and I feel I'll stick to New World Syrah. I don't know.
Okay. I think that you danced around it a lot, which I love. But it's funny that you are where you're at with it.
I knew it.
So this is, in fact, Gamay. It's Domaine de Fa, which is made by a Syrah family.
It's because of Grayo.
So this is Elaine and Maxime Grayo, the children of Elaine, who passed a couple years ago in 22 actually.
Right.
And Elaine, his grandmother was from Beaujolais, and so he used to go to Beaujolais a lot. And when he took his family from Paris, they moved to Croz. They started making wine. Eventually, they bought a little bit of land back in Beaujolais, in Basset, which is right outside of Saint-Amour. And they only make like 1,000 cases of Beaujolais. There's the En Basset, which is technically Beaujolais Village because it's right outside the border of Saint-Amour, and Flory, and they make a little bit of Saint Vrain too. But
it's bomb.
Yeah, it's
and
cool.
I'm also glad I'm not like wildly off.
Sure, no, you were so close. And again, you're between Gamay and Syrah from a historic Syrah producing family making Gamay. And also the kids are a little more they're a little more minimal intervention, a little less STEM inclusion on everything across the board. So also not a hyper-typical Beaujolais either. So
this is delicious.
Yeah.
This has been an amazing experience.
Glad you like it. Yeah. So happy to have you here. Do you have, while we wrap things up, do you have any final words of advice? Anything you'd like to share with anybody that's listening? Anything to pass along?
Yeah. So thank you so much for this whole experience and all you do. You inspired me to get back into the game of the new modern ways of showing our passion in wine and education. And that's why I'm here. It's really great because I feel, unfortunately, we may get jaded into what we do.
Sure.
But there's always the passion and the mission that we're all on, which is having anybody drink wine and love it and expand on that. And so that ties into, if I have anything to say, it's if anyone has any interest in wine, loves wine, if you're listening to this podcast, I assume you love wine, but keep it going because there is an insane world out there. And now every day there's more resources to you to progress that. Or there's people like Chris or myself to like really expand on that. And it's truly what we just want, right? Like, I don't care if you buy from me or if you spend a lot.
I want to share the love.
Like, and I feel the same for you. Yeah. Like you don't care. Like if someone's gonna talk to us about wine, we're gonna be like, yes. Yeah. You like this, you will love this, and here's why. Yeah. And I feel that that's lost, or people in the industry are jaded, which I understand. Like, we all got to make a living, but we will make a living if we get more people to drink wine and people to love wine. With the examples I gave before, it's like if you have enough of them, they will pay the bills. But you can't alienate them, and you have to guide them, and you have to encourage people to love wine and be as geeky as we are about it, and share that and get them as excited. So that's my parting words is like, please love wine, and if you need some assistance, we're here. We are, just reach out to us because we just want you to love wine too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head. I love that. It's like it's not about me making the sale. It's this much more like holistic approach into our industry, right? If we're not helping plant seeds, we can't expect there to be plants to eventually harvest from, right? So, love that.
I love it.
Sick. All right, let's wrap it up. Let's finish this bottle. Let's have a good time.
Thank you so much.
Cheers. Thank
you.
you.
It's been amazing.